I'm also sending to Congress a comprehensive package that will enhance our underlying effort to accommodate the Russian oligarchs and make sure we take their ill-begotten gains. We're going to accommodate them. We're going to seize their yachts, their luxury homes, and other ill-begotten gains of Putin's kleptocracy. Kleptocracy and the guys who are the kleptocracies. But these are bad guys.
Well, that was President Biden this week, once again appearing confused and not in control, sparking more worries about his capacity to lead as the president's poll numbers continue to plummet. Joining me right now to assess the administration and the upcoming midterm elections is former House Speaker Newt Gingrich. He is also a Fox News contributor, of course. And Newt, good to see you. Thanks very much. Give us your reaction to the president this week as we look at the poll numbers, which continue to fall for President Biden.
Well, look, I think, first of all, as a citizen, all of us have to worry about having a commander-in-chief who, at a minimum, seems to be confused a lot, and at a maximum may well have a serious cognitive problem. I mean, in a commander-in-chief in a dangerous world, that should bother all of us way beyond politics. And it's clearly obvious every single week with President Biden. I think, second, he has a dual problem. He has a performance problem. Go to the gas pump, go to the grocery store, talk to average Americans. They feel every day the failure of government to perform. And he has a policy problem, which Elon Musk captured perfectly this week, that they've now moved so far to the left. They're doing things that are so nutty that people both reject how they're performing, but also reject what they believe. I mean, creating a government censorship office is crazy. Opening the border totally is crazy. You just go through item after item like that, and you have to think this is a party and a president that have totally lost their way.
Yeah, you mentioned Elon Musk's tweet. Let's show that. This is the stick figure political chart, which you just referenced, and you got a kick out of this. Why? Explain this stick figure chart and what you think it tells us.
Well, I think it's another example of Elon Musk being unbelievably smarter than almost everybody else. He took everything pollsters and social analysts have been saying and political analysts, put it into a couple of very simple tweets, or a couple of simple stick figures. Back in 2008, he was sort of a liberal, and the liberals were fairly close to the center. Then in 2012, he was beginning to be sort of in the center, and the liberals were going to the left. Now today, he finds himself to the right of center, and he finds the liberals have gone crazy. They're so far to the left. And meanwhile, the conservatives in his stick figures are about where they've always been in the record of Reagan and what we did and Trump. So I thought he captured in that one document the whole policy problem. Now, as I said, there are two things going on. There's a performance failure and there's a policy failure. And I thought Musk did a great job. It's sort of ironic that he put that together. And I think the average American can look at that and say, where are you on this continuum? You like government censorship? You like an open border? You like letting murderers back out on the street? Then you must be a Democrat. And I think that's sort of what Musk captured.
But Newt, layered all on top of that, aside from the bad policy decisions resulting in terrible outcomes, which is what we're seeing, we are looking at perhaps the potential of the beginning of a recession. We got that GDP out last week, a contraction in the economy. You also have corruption in plain sight. And I want to get your take on that. And you mentioned the University of Pennsylvania, secret Chinese money. You think that's an even bigger story than the corruption of what's on Hunter's laptop, right? Walk us through what you mean.
Well, the University of Pennsylvania that we know of has gotten at least $67 million from Chinese sources, anonymous sources. The University of Pennsylvania refused to turn over information to the Justice Department in the last year of the Trump presidency. One of the major jobs of Congress should be to subpoena the University of Pennsylvania's records. They created the Penn-Biden Center for Public Policy. I don't know how many administration staff were being paid from that center, but they were being paid with Chinese money. and you have anonymous Chinese donors, the largest of which was $14.5 million. So you can take everything that Hunter Biden ever did, and then you look at what Joe Biden was doing. The story here is not Hunter Biden. The story here is the head of the family, just like a mafia family, the head of the family, who, by the way, if you go back and pull up what he said in various campaign events, I knew nothing. I never discussed my son's business. Well, we now know he wrote an $800,000 check for his son's legal expenses in business. This wasn't criminal. This was writing to, including Chinese businesses. He wants us to believe he wrote an $800,000 check and didn't discuss his son's business. He wants us to believe they flew for 17 hours to China and they didn't discuss his son's business. The truth is Joe Biden is a liar. This is a corrupt family occupying the White House, and we need to get to the bottom of it. And I believe the University of Pennsylvania's $67 million from China is a lot bigger scandal than Hunter Biden's laptop. As big a scandal, frankly, as the laptop is.
Yeah. Real quick before you go, Newt, is this resonating on the American people? We have some polls here in terms of the midterm elections. I want to get your take on the Republicans. Obviously, the Democrats are attacking Kevin McCarthy. Is there any division within the Republican Party? What can you say about that? No. And do you believe that the GOP has the advantage both on the House and the Senate side come November?
I think we'll pick up between 25 and 70 seats in the House. We'll probably pick up about 4 seats, at least in the Senate. I think that people like Herschel Walker are going to do very, very well. In addition, I would say that if you're in a district that Biden carried by less than 15 or 20 points, you're in great danger as a Democrat. And if the tsunami gets big enough, we beat Ross Stankowski, for example, in downtown Chicago. Nobody thought that was possible. Once these things start, and all you have to do is look what's happening to the Latino vote. We are now stronger Republicans with Hispanics than we are with whites. And Kevin McCarthy will be Speaker, and I think he will do an amazingly good job.